Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Here, we dive deep into energy healing, self-care, and the power of mindset to help you break free from old patterns and design a life that feels aligned, vibrant, and authentically you. Each week, we explore the tools, techniques, and real-life experience that guide us toward lasting healing and growth. Because true metamorphosis isn't just about change. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. Now, let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. And today I have with me Sonya. Sonya is a veteran of the military and has quite a transformational story. Sonya, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I always say, take us back, because transformational stories always start in the past. And so I have that typical tagline, take me back to when your story started. So yeah, take us back to when where do you want to start? Do you want to start with how you grew up, how you were living before, you got hit with that, oh my gosh, something's got to change? Where do you want to start?
I guess I could shortly summarize like from the beginning, because I do feel like everything in my life has played a part in what led me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, it usually does. Yeah,
Mhm.
usually once you go through that transformational process, that awakening process, you have that awareness now. And so you look back at your childhood, you look back at what your ancestors went through, and you're like, oh my gosh, that formed the story that I had to live. Right. So what were those awareness points that came up for you?
So for me, when I looked back, it was definitely more so like I had a emotionally neglected childhood where both of my parents weren't emotionally available. My mother was actually very emotionally and physically abusive. The physical abuse wasn't even that bad to me. It was more so the emotional abuse and the talking down to, and the I wish you were never born, like all of those type of things felt like they cut deep, and it just felt like I was alone,
Yeah.
growing up. And so I kind of dove into, going into the defense mechanisms. I dove into athletics, and sports became like my refuge and my therapy, I guess you could call it. And so that kind of became my identity, is the sports. And I ended up running track for San Diego State University, and I ended up getting a mental block there. So towards the end, it was the very last year of my term there anyway, but I ended up getting cut from the team because I couldn't get past running a certain time. Um, and so it was just because every time, I guess once I ran that time, I just kept thinking that I don't want to run that time again.
Right.
And it blocked me. Not looking back at it, I'm like, okay, I see where it blocked me, but I was meant to move on anyway. So I
Isn't
do.
that funny how that happens when you try to move past something, you try to grow through something, and you keep getting pushed back because you're not meant to go any further on that path.
On that path. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But your ego is saying, no, I need to go further. I need to do more. But it's not in our path. It's not in our blueprint to continue down that path. So please continue.
Yeah, definitely. So I did end up, I think I took some time where I was just working different jobs, and I just knew I needed to do something like bigger than myself, something greater. So for me, that was joining the Marine Corps. Out of all branches, I wanted to know that I
Join
was
the
the
hardest
toughest.
one.
Yeah, exactly. So I joined the hardest one. Boot camp actually wasn't that bad for me. I guess with the mother I grew up with.
That makes a lot of sense is when you have such a tough childhood. Some people say, why would you go into the military? And it's like,
Hmm.
sometimes that environment is so much easier to deal with because you've prepared yourself,
Hmm.
or you've been prepared,
Been prepared for it. Yeah.
right? Right. I mean, but then there are some people who will go into boot camp and be like, It was the worst time of my life."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I
for
knew a
you,
lot
it was easy. It's probably a reprieve from everything that you had been dealing with, because while it's hard,
hmm.
I don't imagine that the military is telling you that they wish you'd never been born,
Yeah.
right? They're not
Yeah.
telling you those things that someone who is supposed to love you and care for you and show you compassion and empathy isn't.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Because it seemed like the things they were telling us were to break us down, but for me, they weren't that bad compared to what I had already
Right.
experienced. So yeah,
Right. Yeah.
definitely. And I think for me, I was also looking for that family that I never felt I had,
Mhm.
because the Marine Corps was all about camaraderie, and they talk about the team being a team, and looking to the left and right of you, and being able to, and that's why people have in the Marine Corps have been able to like lay their lives down for others because
Right.
of that training.
Right. 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 They become a chosen family as
Mhm.
opposed to a ready-made family.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's what I was really looking for. And I feel like at times I did find that I did have that camaraderie. But there were other times where it really did kind of challenge challenge me. Like when I went on recruiting duty was probably the most challenging time that I faced in my adult life. And I just didn't like it. But the thing is, it really helped me get out of my comfort zone, because I didn't
Mhm.
like having to go out and talk to people, and having to like it felt like I was like manipulating people, having to like go out and talk to all these people for this underlying reason.
Right.
And so, but it really taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about business. It taught me a lot about actually getting myself. I want to say it taught me a lot about perspective too, because I went into it with a perspective of, their, I guess the rejection I was getting, I was taking it personal.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, you were trained that way. You were brought
mhm,
up to take things personally because everything that was being thrown at you was personal.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it was just a pattern that you were used to. And I think that is true of anybody who deals with emotional, mental, or physical abuse.
Mhm,
It does become personal, and it's very hard to um separate
mhm,
those triggers, those feelings from, personal versus business.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. That's funny that you said that. I didn't even think about it that way. Um, but there was a point where I shifted that, and I was able to basically get myself out of it and stop taking it personal, start having more fun with it. And that was when, also focusing on the young. I was working with high school students, so I was focusing on them and helping them just become better people and getting ready for boot camp, and even just being out in the community. And I just
Hmm.
became, I just want to be that person that's a mentor, for people to want to be better, even if
Yeah.
they don't join the Marine Corps. And so, uh, in doing that, like I basically just started blossoming. Like I started getting referrals, I started getting all these people sending people to me. And so I even got into the schools more and was doing combat fitness tests with the football teams and different things like that, and just being there with the community. And so it really like turned everything around for me. And my last year on recruiting duty, I was recruiting more people than anybody out there. And so I guess it motivated me to stay in and go back to the Marine Corps to motivate the Marines that I knew. I was like, I saw how motivated the future Marines were, and I was like, well, there's so many Marines that lose that motivation. And so
Right.
I wanted to go back and motivate the Marines that, just help them remember why they joined and stuff like
Right.
that.
I imagine it becomes like any other job that
Yeah.
you go to, that if you're at there if you're at that job long enough, it becomes second nature, and therefore you're kind of on autopilot.
Hmm. Yeah, I do think the luxury of being in the military was that you kind of start over everywhere you go. Like you go
Right.
to a new
Yep.
duty station and you're like, okay,
You can be
well,
whoever you
this
want.
is who I want to be now. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Now my dad was in the Air Force, and so I
Hmm.
was the child who was brought up in the military. And
Hmm.
I have said that same thing, is that I struggled, and even today I still struggle with some imposter syndrome, because I could reinvent who I wanted to be
Hmm.
everywhere I
Everywhere
went.
you went. Yeah.
And so I became very good at just like hiding different parts of me,
Mm.
and just, like,
Oh, hiding
how can
different
I
parts that
be
didn't work at the last place
right,
kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, and so I find myself still kind of doing that when, being coaches, when we have to, put things out on social media, and
Hmm.
it doesn't work within like the first, few views or whatever, and you're just
Hmm.
like, okay, well, maybe I need to reinvent myself again. And so that's something that
Mm.
I've had to work on, is that imposter syndrome that continues to come up. And I think that comes
Mm.
from living that
Living.
life of, I can change and be whoever I want, because these kids in this school don't
Mhm.
know who I was in this school.
Yeah.
And so I totally understand. I totally get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, so I really was able to, and it was, I guess, coming from recruiting duty, I was able to go to this next duty station and just be like, well, this is amazing. Even though some of the Marines there didn't like that duty station, I was like, well, I get my weekends and holidays back. Like that's all I really saw. And
Right.
because I didn't have that on recruiting duty, they worked us like crazy. So I was just like, well, I don't even care as long as I get my weekends and holidays. And then there was the Marines there that I was like inspiring, and it was one of those things where I was really like, this was the duty station. I was like, I felt like I was loved, like everybody, the command. I started a bodybuilding team, and so we had a bodybuilding community. And so I had actually started bodybuilding before recruiting duty. That was actually one thing that I got really good at before recruiting duty, and I was actually upset that I wasn't able to continue it during recruiting duty.
Just the
Um,
time factor, it didn't allow it.
yeah, it was just because I was so swamped with
Yeah.
recruiting, I didn't have time to really spend doing what I needed to do. But I guess that's another thing about our purpose and when things end.
Right.
When they're meant to end. Because I was really like doing well with the bodybuilding, and I was thinking that I was going to go be Miss Olympia. And, I had that set in my mind. But once I came back from recruiting duty and started bodybuilding again, it really wasn't working out for my body
Hmm.
like it was supposed to. But I had built this whole team that I was able to help all these other people, you know, get on stage. And it was really more than just physical. I was helping with them with their mental as well.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that was really a good duty station for a high in my life, I would say. I even met my son's father, who, at the time seemed like the one. Because he was doing all the things, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is what I've been waiting for, is to get treated like this and doing,
Right.
you know, um, and then I go to my next duty station, and this is where I get hit with all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh. Where life starts to implode.
Yeah, basically, this was where I guess I was forced to look within and finally see the things I had masked underneath all the positive. I was doing all these motivational speeches and trying to be this positive mentor, but I
Right.
didn't realize I was masking all my subconscious things
Yeah.
from the past. And so that's where it came out. It came up in a narcissistic boss, narcissistic partner, and once I left the Marine Corps, and well, once I decided to leave the Marine Corps and him, I found out that my best friend had narcissistic um, traits that I didn't see. And then I looked back and started seeing all the things. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And it was all because, and it came up that it was my mother wounds
Yeah.
and it was showing up in all these people around me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So I had to do some deep healing. And it's been 2 years since I left, almost 2 years. Yeah, I think it's been 2 years. I got out of the Marine Corps January 2024. Almost two
Okay.
years.
So year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been almost 2 years. It was really November before that January that I left my ex. But yeah, almost 2 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
and since then, it's just been some deep healing work. And then this past January was when I had this big spiritual awakening where I just jumped into this. I know it was all divine timing because it just came up on my feed out of nowhere. It was this Joe Dispenza meditation, and he was talking about women living on their own. They're starting to get more into their power,
Right.
and stuff like that. And so I was just like, wow, let me write this down. And it was a meditation in the morning, breath work, meditation in the evening before bed, and then it was like a movement mantra too. And I started doing that with I would do these sprints, and I would just say it when I was doing the sprints. And the type of euphoric state that this put me in was crazy, like just a
Mm-hmm.
natural euphoric state. I literally, within those couple of days, I saw the world completely differently. Like I was going to the same job, I'd go and seeing the same people, but everything was different. People were even like wanting to help me more, wanting to talk to me more, and wanting to be around me. It was just like crazy what how people were responding to me everywhere I was going. And I was just like, wow. Like, so I realized I jumped into a whole different timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing all this research with the neurology and the um, quantum embodiment and things like that. And I ended up writing my book. I wrote my book within like a month. It
Wow.
was like, yeah, it was like time didn't matter during these. It was like 2 months time where the time
Right.
didn't matter, and I was just knocking things out. I was decluttering. I'm a single mother too, so I was even able to spend time with my son how I wanted to. And so it was just crazy how that felt. And then it led to I was like, okay, why are these other feelings coming back now? And then I was led to different teachers. I feel like once I started my podcast, and I've been working with a sacred geometry mentor. And honestly, in working with her, like I've even shifted even more. Like I feel like I've learned so much in such a
Yeah.
short amount of time from like January to now that I'm gonna have to write another book because like literally the way my life has shifted just in doing all this inner work and like actually learning how to really feel my feelings and transmute it into what I want to create.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting to well, you get the fears and doubts, but then it's like once you learn how to tame the fears and doubts and just observe them and continue on the path and just keep going, like then you start to finally see the things manifest. And
Yeah.
it's just crazy.
It is. Now, can you look back and see how some of the things that weren't so great, now that you know how to manifest the great things,
Hmm.
can you look back and see how you manifested some of the not so great things? Because I
Yeah.
think that's
So.
important for people to understand is you work to all of this new quantum healing stuff, this
Mhm,
manifesting and designing your existence, designing
mhm,
your reality comes into your awareness. But
mhm,
a lot of people don't want to believe that they also manifested the
mhm.
other parts. So were you able to gain that awareness as well?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like my awareness and consciousness is to a point where I definitely saw how I manifested my own reality subconsciously. I
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, it's not on
Yeah,
a conscious level, right? That's
yeah,
that's another point to make, is that
mhm,
we're not sitting there going, I want to attract a narcissist. I want to
yeah,
we're not doing that.
yeah,
It's a subconscious, it's these characteristics are probably very comfortable to you because of what you grew up with,
hmm,
right? And they say that, we often attract one of our parents depending
hmm,
on what it is that we've gone through. I was lucky enough that my subconscious was like, no, we're not going to do that. My
yeah.
husband is nothing like either of my parents,
Oh, okay.
which 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 I'm so thankful for.
Yeah,
But
that's
there are other
amazing.
things that I can see that I did manifest in coworkers and bosses
Mm,
that were just like my parents. And so they
mhm,
did come into my awareness.
mhm.
But like you said, it's in our subconscious that
Yeah.
our subconscious is comfortable with those vibrations, and
Mhm,
that's what we're calling in, is those low. So looking back, where can you see those things have happened? Can you see that those things have happened, and how were you able to shift that perspective and be like, I can take responsibility for this, because even though it wasn't conscious,
yeah.
I still did this.
So yeah, it really is radical responsibility because I had to see that I was speaking in victim language even when I thought I was being empowering. I don't know. So I will say that, so when I was being all empowering and trying to be positive, this positive um mentor for people in the Marine Corps and my bodybuilding team, um, I realized that I kept myself so busy because I didn't want to sit with myself
Mm-hmm.
and be alone with myself and feel those negative feelings. But those were the feelings I was that was the key to my transformation, my big transformation,
Mm-hmm.
because in not sitting with those feelings, it manifested those people.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it
Absolutely.
definitely did manifest those people, because I could have very well probably sat with those feelings and been able to avoid being hit with a sledgehammer. But that wasn't my path.
Right.
So my path was to actually be with around those people, learn the lessons, and now I'm even to a point, honestly, where I even thank um my ex. I thank the universe, I thank my ex for um bringing that into my life, because I wouldn't have had such a radical shift
Mm-hmm.
um if I wouldn't have, because I've literally made quantum leaps just in this year, and I feel like this whole year is just like quantum leaps for me, because I've been so determined and so focused on my inner work, that I've just seen so many shifts in a short
Yeah.
amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, do you still have somewhat of a relation? Because he is your ex, he's your
Mhm.
son's father. Is there still a relationship there, since you guys do share a child, or is it still at arm's length?
So I did have to go through that period of setting extreme boundaries with him. And there was that whole period of time where he was just trying to manipulate, lie, and still do all the
Hmm.
things to try and destroy me. But in me doing my inner work, now I'm actually seeing a shift in him because of my inner work. And it's not me forcing somebody else to change, it's my energy changing. So the people that come into my life now, if they are to be in my life, they have to shift
Right.
as well. So
Right. That's what I was hoping that you were going to say, because that's what I have found as well, is that when I did the inner work,
mhm,
those that were still meant to remain in my life
mhm,
shifted.
mhm,
And when they didn't shift, it made me more aware of the fact that there was still something within me that I
mhm,
needed to work on, that I needed to address,
mhm,
because I call these people in for a reason.
mhm.
And you did the same. You know, your ex is still coming into your life because he's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it from from the energetic standpoint, there's
Mhm,
still lessons that either he needs to learn from you
mhm.
or vice versa.
Yeah, I definitely believe that either people shift, and they even shift once you shift with your energy, they shift subconsciously.
Right. Right.
Because
They
they
might
might
not even
have
realize
just
that
like,
they're shifting.
yeah, exactly. Like they might have some things they need to heal in themselves, but they subconsciously shift because your energy has shifted.
Yeah.
But I will say that I have lost some people too
Hmm.
because of speaking my truth, and I knew I needed to speak it. My best friend, I had to speak my truth to her, and in doing that, I lost her.
Yeah.
She basically said that well, that's a whole other story, but she fell away because of me speaking my truth and getting more into
Right.
who I'm
She
meant to be.
wasn't ready to shift.
Yeah,
It wasn't in
exactly.
her plan to shift.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, we will lose people, we will gain people. I'm sure
Mhm.
you've gained some wonderful friendships
Yeah,
through
and
this
now
awakening as well.
I've met some amazing people in the most recent. I would say like I was in that period of transition where I don't want to say lonely, but it was alone. But I
Right.
didn't feel lonely, and even when the feelings of loneliness started coming up, I that was when I had to ask myself like, okay, this feeling is coming up in me, like what do I need to do to transmute this feeling?
Right. Right.
And
That's so nice.
so I was able to work with that and like be alone. And now the people that I was calling in basically have started to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how when are able to sit with yourself
Hmm.
and allow yourself to have any feelings that come up, um, how much better you feel.
Hmm.
And because of how much better you're feeling, what shifts around you?
Yeah.
Who comes into your awareness, or what comes into your awareness to witness,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It can be incredibly beautiful. Um, but if you also allow yourself to sit in some of those lower vibration emotions
Mhm.
that we still have because we're human,
Yeah.
it can
We're
do
going to
it.
continue to get them.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just about changing your relationship with it,
Yep.
because most people, they don't want to sit with it because they see it as bad.
Right. Right.
But as long as you look at it from a point where like this is where my transformation begins, like this is going to bring me to higher lengths,
Right.
you know.
Right. Don't judge the feeling.
Yeah.
Just be curious. Why am I having this feeling?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
Hmm.
And if you're tapped into your subconscious, either through your intuition, muscle testing, pendulum, whatever it is,
Hmm.
you always ask, what age is this from?
Hmm. Oh
You know,
yeah.
and that can help to bring up what it is that you need
Hmm.
to really look at or address. And if you're still having a hard time, reach out to people like yourself, right? Like
Mhm.
listeners, if you're having those moments, reach out to Sonya to see if there's
Mhm.
something that she can assist you with
Mhm.
in transmuting those emotions.
Mhm.
Because that's how you help your clients now, right? Is to move through their trauma, move through
Mhm.
their wounds to get to the other side.
Mhm. Yeah, because I even realized even with the relationship wounds, there's also, I guess, so money and love are kind of on the same energetic channel. And so you
Mm-hmm.
have like the money wounds, the love wounds, and in working with those, you can kind of transmute both of those and start to bring both in at the
Right.
same time. So,
Yeah, we have. Yeah, there's once you get into the energy world, it can be a little overwhelming when you start to
mhm.
talk about how many different wounds you can have, where they're coming
Yeah.
from, what's underneath of them. And if you are the first in your current lineage that is supposed to be dealing with all of these wounds, it
Mhm.
can be incredibly overwhelming. And that's where the self-care comes into play, right? The
Mhm.
the having those meditative moments, journaling,
Mhm.
just being in the moment
Mhm.
to allow
Journaling is
yourself.
huge. I feel like I've all of the feelings that I've got, like moved through have
Hmm.
definitely been written down as well. They've been written down. I do voice notes. I
Yep.
do
Yep. Yeah, there's
like
so many
all of the
different
things.
ways to journal that people think it's just, writing in a diary.
Mhm.
I created a journal email for myself where I can send if I'm on my phone, I can send myself,
Mm.
my
Yeah.
journal, as opposed to if I don't have my notebook with me. So
Mhm.
I had a mentor once who was like, I have a notebook in every room where I can just start jotting things down. And that's how my phone is. It's like I'll
Yeah.
just, voice into it, whatever. It's just to
Mhm.
get it out,
Yeah.
to brain dump. And it doesn't have to be, oh, woe is me all the time,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's at some point, let's shift that into, yes, this happened. Why did this happen? And what's the silver lining
Mhm.
and why this happened?
Yeah,
But don't be
definitely.
so hard on yourself if you write a paragraph that is just like, this has been the most obnoxious day of my entire life.
Yeah,
You can
yeah, that's
write
what
a
another
thousand
thing I've
times.
learned too is being, compassionate with yourself,
Yeah.
because I used to be super hard on myself, like, I used to always beat myself up, but it's almost like now that I have this awareness, it's like my higher self comes in those moments, like, "No," either like, don't do that, this is how you can reframe that," basically,
Yeah.
instead of beating yourself up and, being compassionate on yourself and giving yourself grace. There's ways to reframe things.
Yeah. Do you have any examples that the listeners might get to take away?
Yeah. So instead of like this is happening to me, why is this happening for me? Because everything is always happening for us. We just don't see it when all we're focused on is the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start to focus on like why is this happening for us, we start to get revealed to us like the actual divine orchestration of it and how it actually really is working for us. And there's been so many times I've been revealed the actual divine orchestration of the bad things that have happened to me, and it's so like beautiful that it brings me to tears
Yeah.
to where I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love that. I love
yeah.
that. Sonya, where can the listeners find you to, first of all, do you have any programs that you'd like to offer to the listeners?
Oh, so I do have my book that I just released. I actually just released it, and that is on, you can find it at sonyaachara.com. That's actually where you can find my book. It also has my podcast on there.
Okay.
Um, and then I do have all my links. It's allmylinks.com/ remember who you are 222. And that has like everything. It has all my websites, my social media platforms, ways to get a hold of me. But I do I offer one-on-one sessions, but the to me it's more transforming if you actually get the program, which is an 8-week program that I have, and it's just an 8-week transformational program, for anyone out there that is kind of wanting to get out of their patterns but don't know how. Like they see that there's patterns, but they don't know how to get out of them, and I can literally like see and help people through those. So
that's awesome. And all of her links will be in the show notes. And I checked out all my links, and I'm like, I need to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. Like I've seen people do Linktree and
yep,
other things, but I guess I like the look of all my links.
yeah. I have Linktree too, but I need to take a look at that, all my links, because it makes so much sense to have it be called, here are all of my links.
Yeah. Right.
Makes so much sense. Sonya, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your inspirational story of transformation, and to be vulnerable enough to tell people about it, because I'm at this point in my life where I'm going to start airing. I'm like, we need to air our dirty laundry, because nobody talks about it until it's too late.
Yeah.
So it's time
And
to
that's
start
the thing. Everyone
laundry.
thinks that we're going through this
Yeah.
by ourselves, but all of us are going through things.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to put it out there. And I will say you do have to do the inner work to be able to feel comfortable to put it out there. But like now I just don't have the same emotional charge, and I'm able to tell the story like it was a story, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it was good to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.